Kenyans. And to have this conversation, we have CPA Esther Wamalwa, who is a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC, as well as Dr. Moses Olum, who is a research scientist and Deputy Institute Director at the Veterinary Science Research Institute at KALRO. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Right. I will start with you, CPA Esther, in terms of what this means for the country.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me this morning. Much has been said about agriculture being the backbone of the economy. And why is it so? It's because if you look at the numbers, agriculture contributes directly about 20% to the GDP. That's when you talk about directly. But indirectly, when you talk about manufacturing, when you talk about distributions, the services, the transportation, that goes together with the agriculture. Then if you compound that both directly and indirectly, we are talking about 50% to the GDP. And that's why they always say that agriculture is the backbone of the economy. So anything that affects this agriculture, food production, being in a region where agriculture majorly depends, it's climate-driven, rain-fed. So if there's anything that tampers with the climate, is there anything that tampers with the rainfall, if it's not regular and all that, then it means food is going to be affected. And when that food production is affected, there's now a ripple effect to the economy, because now food prices are going to go up. When the food prices go up, it means now the spending, people will be spending, most households, because their key priority is food. They need the food for consumption, food for trade, and now with that, it will mean the food prices will go up. If the food prices go up, they will not have the disposable income now to spend supporting the other economies. So it's just a ripple effect that affects the entire economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ari, let me bring you into the conversation. As someone in the agriculture space, Farming Early Warning Systems Network, that is FuseNet, they say that the short rains were the driest on record. Around 30 to 60% of long-term average in terms of rains received in Kenya. What does this mean?
So most of the East African region and the Horn of Africa is actually on the red in terms of drought. That is La Nina this year and probably into the next. And what that means in terms of livelihoods is that there is a need or reason to worry. When there are less rains, then it means that feeds for livestock will be limited. When feeds for livestock are limited, then it leads to loss in condition of animals, and at worst we find loss of animals at the end of the day. So when that happens, then we find or we realize that there will be limited feeds for livestock. This causes a ripple effect, as Esther says, in that human beings will not be able to find sufficient animal protein to partake of. This leads to immunity getting depressed when people are under nutrition. And when that happens, then therefore we find that the health of animals and people then goes on a downside. When that happens, then we realize that livelihoods will be lost, human life can be lost at worst, and sometimes we end up finding that people will try to go to other sources of food, and this could risk zoonotic infections, among other things. So in the next few months, we are looking at stress in the livestock space, animal health, in terms of food and feed for animals. We will be also depressed, and then we will have a ripple effect on human health at the end of the day. So that is what we are probably looking at in the next so many months. Yes.
She mentioned that Kenya is largely involved in rain-fed agriculture. And there was a statement, controversial statement that the head of state mentioned the other day. He said that we do not need rain, we need water. And from a scientific perspective, I would like to hear from you. I'm informed that we want to fix your sound. Let me just get to CPA Esther for a minute before I get back to you on that. CPA Esther, you mentioned rain-fed agriculture. what is the importance of moving away from that to ensure that we are having sustainable food systems?
Thank you so much. And now that's when now it comes to government policies. Now government can come up with policies just to mitigate the effects of drought. And one of the ways is through irrigation, so that we don't have to largely depend on rainfall. If the irrigation schemes are there, that will ensure that there is constant water supply to it. And then in terms of governments, both national and county governments, having policies in place to ensure that they help the farmers with subsidies in terms of the farm inputs, the fertilizers. Could we have even issues of like drought-resistant seeds, and even move away from the traditional crops that we are being involved in? So those are things that and policies that the government can come up with, so that we don't necessarily depend on the rain, but if we can have ways in which the water supply is not cut through irrigation, so that will ensure that the crops don't fail, the animals don't die, and all that. So the irrigation is part of the policies that the government can come up with. Yeah.
And I think there have been very intentional projects towards irrigation in the country. Yes. But we will throw that question in a little bit to Daktari. And for you, as you look at, when you've talked about diversification of diet, there's also the issue of value addition in the agriculture space. How important is that in ensuring that we are not wasting the produce that we get during the bumper harvests?
Yes, and actually you will, the problem, especially in most African countries, ours included, is that we are not adding value to whatever we are getting. So that value addition will even enable the farmers to even earn more through even just domestic trade or even foreign trade when we export, when you add more value than just selling the raw materials as they are. So back to what I was talking about, policies both in counties and national government. The beauty about it now that the devolution is there, and we are in, since 2013, 13 or 14 years down the line, how have we added value even in that agricultural space, so that the farmers also benefit from their hard work, so that middlemen don't come in and exploit the farmers in terms of get the raw materials. They've done the work, they get the raw materials, but now go whatever, add value, and then now they sell or export at a higher fee. So if that can be done by the farmers through empowerment, through making sure that whatever the cottage industries or whatever we need to have are here in place, so that the farmers can easily be accessible to the farmers, and the knowledge in terms of the farmers knowing very well that it is what that is required of them to do. So that will be able to help them with that value addition. Yeah.